Hello, friends, and thank you for joining ERP's webinar, Your Path to PeopleSoft Success, Change Management, Version Control, Compliance, and Modernization. I'm Jeff Miller from ERPA, and I'll be your host for this live event today, so welcome to all of you. ERPA supports customers throughout their entire lifecycle on PeopleSoft, including managed services, fluid and other implementations, modernizing with the cloud, path to SaaS, projects that require more technical expertise than you may have in-house, and much, much more. Nearly anything is possible, but today is all about change management, version control, compliance, and modernization. And we're pleased to be joined today by ERPA's partner, Fire. Now, some housekeeping matters. Over 150 of you signed up to join us today. And as folks continue to sign in, you will find yourself muted on our platform, but please send us your questions and your comments during our presentation using the chat and the question feature, which are in the top right-hand corner of the webinar platform. After today's live event, you will receive an email with a quick 5-question survey. It's going to take you about 45 seconds, but we would be grateful for your feedback. And now on to the table of contents, or today's topics. We have a lot in store for you today. The welcome and introductions, well, I'm doing that right now. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a list of our world-class presenters, John, Ganesh, and Sean, who will each in turn be presenting today. John's going to cover change and challenges for PeopleSoft customers. Ganesh is going to do a Fire demo and the capabilities of Fire demonstrated in a few use cases. And then Sean is going to wrap it up with what's next in your PeopleSoft roadmap, thinking about where those use cases and change management may really come in handy. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, my ERPA colleague, who's going to frame our discussion before turning it over to our first presenter, John. Welcome, Sean.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeff, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm imagining that since you joined an ERPA webinar, you may likely know who we are, but just to be sure, I just want to point out that ERPA was founded in 1999 as a PeopleSoft consulting firm. Our mission then and still is just to enable our clients and partners to get more out of their PeopleSoft stack. So 25 years later, here we are. We're a managed service provider, a boutique managed service provider specializing in ERP modernization, both SaaS, cloud, but PeopleSoft is in our DNA, and it always will be. We run our own proprietary orchestration layer that accelerates PeopleSoft deployment, modernization, and management. And when it comes to PeopleSoft, I think it's important to note that we support customer initiatives from tactical to literally transformational. So on the one end, it might be 9.2 upgrades, fluid implementations, all the way to re-platforming PeopleSoft in the cloud for a SaaS-like experience and everything in between. With that in mind, one of the things I feel that we've done really well over the past 2 decades is identify best of breed partners. To not only do we use their tech, we get really excited about how our partners and their technology can enable our customers to have a much better PeopleSoft experience. And that's why we're here today. So today we're going to get a little bit closer to the tactical end of that spectrum. And for 2 reasons, right? We're going to talk about application change management, version control, and compliance. And really, again, for two very important reasons. Number one is some of the best practices that we're going to share with you today, you could implement today and benefit from tomorrow, right? So very actual real-time benefit can be derived from what we'll share with you today. Number two is that if you want to move more to that transformational end of the spectrum, these are critical best practices and foundational building blocks that you have to have in place in order to enable that. So really excited about having our partner Fire here with us today. With that, I will turn things over to John. Thank you, John.
Hey, John, you're going to say some great things, but we need to unmute you so we can hear you, my friend.
Hello, my name is John Han, and I'm the chief designer of the Fire application. Okay. So there's an old saying that you may have heard, the only thing constant is change. You probably know firsthand how true the statement is as you implement and support PeopleSoft. Now, there are many internal and external drivers for change. One of the major drivers of change for PeopleSoft is technology. When I first started working with PeopleSoft way back in the early 1990s, PeopleSoft was based on the client server architecture. Few years later, there was a switch to the PeopleSoft Internet architecture. And then came the move towards mobile and cloud computing. And now you see this next big technology shift towards artificial intelligence. The second major driver for change is government. I happen to live right outside Washington, D.C., and you probably heard that there are many changes happening in D.C. these days. Government is constantly changing existing regulations. They're creating new regulations, or perhaps they might even deregulate nowadays. And of course, there are constant changes to the tax laws. Another major driver for change, is your business. Your business strategy can change, or perhaps you are changing your business processes, or maybe even you are acquiring another business. All of these drivers require changes to be made to PeopleSoft. And each time change happens, it impacts your technical, functional, and even your end users. So for PeopleSoft, change is not just constant, it is actually inevitable. The next slide shows the challenges these changes impose. Well, you need to implement and enforce effective change controls, such as testing and approvals. Now, once these controls are in place, you need to be able to report on the effectiveness of these controls. For the development process, you need to have code versioning and good code promotion process in place to prevent data loss of like development work and to enable rollback of code changes to production and shorten the time to deploy these technical changes. Lastly, you need to be able to automate these task assignments, enable efficient communications, and be able to audit and have visibility into all the change activities. Now, the next slide is going to show you why fire exists. Okay? Fire exists to help you meet these challenges. What is fire? Fire is an application change management solution that helps organizations track and manage the changes that are necessary for PeopleSoft. Now, Fire is very unique in that it is built on the same technical architecture as PeopleSoft, which means that Fire is easy to deploy, easy to support, and easy to use. Fire has a workflow-driven change request tracking capabilities and provides for versioning and migration of PeopleTools code. The Fire application has been around since 2007, and we have over 400 customers in many industries, including higher education, healthcare, public, and private sectors. Okay. In the next slide, I'm going to actually walk you through kind of a short use case to kind of really drive home how Fire can help you when you're implementing a major change to your PeopleSoft application. Let's take an example. You decide to embark on a cloud modernization on AWS using ERPA as the managed service provider. Okay. This major change will present some new challenges because now you have many different teams and organizations involved in managing PeopleSoft. Fire has built-in features to enable those efficient communications between the various players. With the workflow and task routing features, you'll be able to facilitate the assignment of various tasks, such as who's going to do the development, who's doing the testing, the approvals, who's going to actually do the migration of the code into production, and so forth. Okay. You also need to make sure to implement segregation of duties. There are a lot of security reasons, and so Fire has built-in features to prevent developers from being able to make changes, let's say directly in production, while allowing them to have read access to the code that is in production. Okay. Lastly, Fire is going to enable you to track and audit all the change activities that occur so that you will be able to report on what change was made, when the change was performed, and who was responsible for making that change. So this use case that I just went through really quick, really short, right, should really provide a good overview of some of the benefits that Fire application can provide to PeopleSoft customers. Now I'll turn it over to Ganesh, who's going to do a live demonstration of some of the features of the Fire application.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John, and thank you for this, and thank you for also coming up with Fire. Like most of the folks I'm guessing in this call, they wear multiple hats in PeopleSoft as a developer, as an admin, but we all can agree that the SDLC lifecycle is not streamlined. And with Fire, I introduced to Fire in 2013, so around 12 years of experience with Fire. You'll have your SDLC streamlined, workflows properly navigated to each roles. Everything is audited. It's almost like, to give you an analogy, it's like if you're driving a car, moving from stick shift to an automatic car. You have to do everything manually before. Now everything is done by Fire. With that, I'll provide a quick recap of what I'm planning to present as part of this agenda. I'm assuming the Fire change management itself might be something new for folks. So I'll give a brief overview of Fire setup, and I will try my best to present three use cases. One is a standard migration. Everybody knows right now, if I have to have a standard migration, developer develops those code in development database. He'll request migration to a test, and then admin, he will also log on to app designer, and he will move to test, and then they talk to each other. Did you compare? Did you set the flags, and so on. And then eventually we have to get an approval, and the approval from the manager pretty much will be either in an email or in a Jira ticket. And then finally the migrator moves it, and he moves it through app designer. And then developer, he doesn't know, most of them, they don't have access to production, so he doesn't know if it went through or not. And the second use case I will present is sometimes you have to run an emergency script in production. For example, you ran a job. The underlying processes went to success, but the job itself stayed in processing state. I see that is one of the most used cases. So with that, somebody gives a SQL, a DB or a PS admin has to run it, but you have to have approvals. Again, those approvals will be either on a Jira or an email. Right, and finally, I want to present version control and how Fire helps with this in version control. Before I go on to the online page, quickly, in a typical work atmosphere, we will have multiple users doing different roles. So what I am presenting right now is a quick summary of the users that we are using for this demo purpose. We'll start with David, who will be developer, and Tammy would be our tester. Anne is somebody like a manager and the approver. Sam is the actual PS admin who will do the migrators. And we also have a role for Diana, who pretty much has a PS PeopleSoft security admin. Meaning, if let's say if we provided new roles or security, again it gets recorded outside of the system. And finally, we have a user, John. We rarely use them, but Fire administrator will have access to all of them, including setting workload in different stages. Right. With that, I'll shift to the demo. As John mentioned, this Fire is built on People Tools, so you would see an environment similar to People Tools. Now, this version is version 20.1 using 8.61. And it is set in Fluid. As you guys can see, everything is set to the Fluid home pages. And Fire itself will provide a lot of customized pages. And as you can see, there are different aspects of home pages that you can use. And one of the aspects that I really like, and we extensively use it a client, is issue tracking. Anytime there's an incident, we create an issue, and that issue automatically generates a change request for us. So if somebody asks, if in auditing, if it comes out that where is the change request coming from, it's based on this issue, and the issue is tracked. Sometimes we track the issues in Jira or the Salesforce, but this is an option that can be used. Before that, I'll quickly show few things here. Oh, I'm logging as David. Right. So with that, what I wanted to show was the row level security. So basically, as John mentioned, segregation of duties is something that is paramount for a proper SDLC, meaning the developer cannot be approver and the approver cannot develop code, and both of them cannot migrate it, and the migrator cannot touch any of the objects as a developer, right? So all of that is provided in this solution. So in this case, I am providing a basic change request. What this change request is, somebody created new roles in PeopleSoft. So we'll say new roles in PeopleSoft. This is how your change request screen will look like. Once you hit save, it automatically generates you a change request number, and in the task you would see this workflow, and you will also see the different databases that it's going to touch. So since David is our developer, his job is to make sure he adds all the objects to the CR, and he makes sure the development portion is complete. And he has to create what we call a migration set. Migration set is any set that has the actual code. Needless to say, there are multiple migration requests that can be created, and then he will request a migration to test. That will complete the role for David. I will show you once we get there how the system will make sure this is a gated processes, meaning once the ball is in migrator's court, there is not much David can do at this stage. So that way, system will make sure people are properly corralled or segregated in their lanes. So with that, for this purposes of demo, I would provide some basic people tools. We have already created some projects. We call it demo roles. As you can see right now, what's happening is Fire database. Fire has its own database. It is now connected to CS development database, and it fetched all the projects in the database, and I'm able to select one project, and I can do a quick import. When I do a quick import, it imported all those objects to my change request. Now at this stage, these two are created in development. Now I have these copies in Fire database. Now once I have this, which means that I've completed development, I added objects to the CR. As a developer, I'll mark this as complete. I'm still in development database. Now once I have this, I have to create a migration set. A migration set is think of it as a folder that has all of your objects. So this is the task item for all the things that you do. I will create a migration set. I will call it baseline version 1. My database ID is development database, and it is migratable for me. So I click OK. So now it created a change migration set for me. One other thing I wanted to show here is, as you guys can see, you see the statement called locked here. What it is these objects are locked. That's one way of doing version controlling, and it helps us making sure that one common problem we had with PeopleSoft is if multiple developers work on the same object, they still can work in development database, but this object is locked, and only this version of it can move across. At this stage, if somebody changes this role, adding new permission lists or so on, this will still be the old copy. Until we get the new copy, we are good there. So once this is done, I am going to request a change to migration. I will add a migration notes. This is a streamlined way of making sure developers and administrators talk to each other instead of over the phone or emails. I would say standard migration with no builds. And if I require a restart, and I will say it is a security change, and I require server restart, I'll hit save, and I have my notes. And creating a migration package is as easy as simply clicking it. I'll quickly show the source information. The source information is the baseline version that I created, and I can request a backup, which means that for the next environment, first Fire is going to take a backup and then it's going to build. And I'm going to hit save. It is warning me at this stage that all your tasks are complete. It is going to go to the next row, and this will make it read only. I click yes and I save it. As you guys can see, everything is gated now, so I cannot make any changes. And if I try to add more objects to it, as you can see, this is grayed out. So it made sure that I will not tamper this because already it's moved along. So at this stage, the task of David is complete. And since it's at a migrator stage, we'll move on to a migrator. And in my exercise, my migrator is Sam. I will log on to as Sam. As you can see in his my change request, an inbox it popped up. Clearly, you can just click it here. And then once he is here, you will see that, okay, there is a migrator test. We'll quickly go to migration notes. It's a standard migration with no builds. So he goes to migration and he simply clicks. The next environment is CS test. It takes a baseline backup and he hits migrate. Boom, complete. So if I go back to my task set, it says, okay, my request migration is complete, migrate to test is complete. At this stage, even migrator, his role is complete. Now he has to go talk to any end user, the system automatically sends an email to the next people. As you guys can see, this is set to a role, meaning every user that's in the role will get assigned that task. So at this stage, Sam's job is also done, and my tester is Tammy. I'll log on as Tammy.
Hey, Ganesh, while you're doing that, hey, John,
Yeah.
we've got a couple of questions that have come in, John, and I've assigned them to you. If you could jump on and check out those questions. And then, Ganesh, I might have some questions I'm assigning to you as well. Thank you. Audience,
Okay.
keep your questions coming, and we're going to try to answer them while we're in this live event. Great job, Ganesh. Keep it up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for that. Quickly, so now that we are here, Tammy comes here. She has to perform system testing. And she can attach at this stage documents. I created a simple test. What it is just for the purposes, I will just add a note called testers note, testing pass with criteria provided. But in the actual testing, we are assuming that they will include screenshots and any other documentation that they have to provide. I will upload it. So now the tester has completed their task. Okay, and I marked it as pass. And now tester's job is also complete. Now this is sitting with an approver stage. So the approver is typically your managers or somebody you assign as managers. So in my example, my approver is Anne. I will now log on as Anne. Now with Anne, I will come here. I would say this is approved. And so my approval is recorded here. Quickly moving on, then it will go back to Sam. Sam has to make sure he compares, and the way he does is it's a simply he do so objects, and he does a compare. He wants to compare version set with production, making sure everything is good. It provides my everything clearly, and if it's different, it provides you all this. And some of you might remember this screen, similar to your compare reports that you use during upgrades or any pump fixes. And once this is done, I go back to my task. I have to complete migration to production. I'll do the standard migration to production. I can hit migrate. Okay. And the migration is complete. And the last part here is apply security production. So one other aspect that we sometimes miss is, let's say you have some role changes. PeopleSoft security admin records those role changes, but it's recorded outside of it. With this example, we have Diana as one of our security admins. Diana goes and completes the online PeopleSoft security changes, but she comes here and she records her approval, saying that it is complete, and now it's back to developer. So this completes a use case of a standard migration. I want to quickly go back and show another use case where you have to run a SQL in production. So for that, I want to quickly create an issue. I'll create an issue saying reset job status, right? And I hit submit. It created an issue for me. As you guys can see, issue clearly has a change request, right? And I can automatically create a change request. And once it's in the change request, I change this into emergency migration. And in emergency migration, all I have to do is add a SQL script. It changes this, correct? Sorry, I have to add a script here. It's a SQL script. I'll quickly show what my SQL script is. Some of you might have seen it. It basically updates the process request table, setting the status to distributed to posted and run status to completed. I'll attach this script. Yeah. Okay. So again, if you guys recall, what happens typically in a SQL script, developer writes a SQL script, is we have tons of communication going over the emails, but here everything gets streamlined. Apologies, I have to go back. I created an emergency migration where I have to do script only. I will save this. And 24 is what I have to work with. I do this again. Anytime. All right. So if I go back in my task, my development is complete. I've added script to the CR, and I have to execute in test to make sure it works. And the way I do is a developer can themselves do it. I will, if I want, I can keep it in a rollback status, and I can see history on how it executes. And Fire typically does not need any comments. I wanted to make sure. I'll see this and open it. it will make sure this is how it builds the SQL. Right. So quickly to wrap this up, this is my last thing I can present. I have to again execute it, and I have to commit it this time. And I go back to my task. This is complete. Somebody has to approve in production, and that would be our resource Anne. So Anne logs into the system. Right now, it actually records in the system. Um, all right. I believe I have to check. I tested the security. Let me check with Diana. Diana is the old one. So in this case, I'll log in with another user. No, sorry. Sorry, y'all. Just wait with me. I just wanted to and approve it and migrated executes this in production. I think I went slightly over with what I wanted to show. At this stage, I'll take a pause. While we get to the questions, I'll go back to our slide um, and I'll hand over to our to Shamp earlier, our AWS expert.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ganesh, and thank you, John. I love this, and I love your analogy of it's like having a car and moving from a manual transmission to an automatic, right? There are definitely benefits to be derived there, and it goes so much deeper. There are other things. It could be climate control, it could be cruise control, and that's what we're trying to give you a glimpse of today. Some of the many things that you can do tactically to really streamline your PeopleSoft operations today. So on the next slide, I'm going to share with you kind of where we see our customers going in terms of their PeopleSoft roadmap. And the first one there is really, it's all about maximize, right? There's PeopleSoft works for us. We're invested, we're committed, we're likely going to keep it for the foreseeable future. And so if that's the case, then what are the things that we can do tactically to ensure that we're maximizing our investment in PeopleSoft? And you can see a list there on the right, some of the common things we see our customers doing. Not going to go through those again, but by far and above, in my view, probably one of the most important is exactly what we've talked about today, right? It's the application change management, the version control, and the compliance. So start here for sure. The second bucket that we see our customers falling into is really modernize, right? They're saying, again, committed to PeopleSoft, but we want just the application, right? We want PeopleSoft to operate in the cloud, SaaS-like, where we're leveraging the application to do all the things that we'd like to do, and then you just make it work. And so we help our clients achieve that SaaS-like experience with PeopleSoft. And another area where we see a lot of our customers moving to is where they're saying, look, we just want to modernize, right? That third path might be maybe it's PeopleSoft on-prem modernized, maybe it's PeopleSoft in the cloud modernized, maybe it's adopting some SaaS platform like Workday, and ultimately a hybrid of both. So we definitely have some use cases I can share with you around customers that have modernized PeopleSoft on AWS for a SaaS-like experience and adopted specific Workday modules around it to complement. So there's a broad spectrum, but I think the key to that is let's just have a conversation. So if we could forward to the last slide, Ganesh, if it's available, it's really one of our engagement methodologies. It's just the art of the possible. And that is really just about one more click, please. There we go. That is really just about having a conversation. So whether you're trying to build a better PeopleSoft on-prem today, or whether you're hoping to move to a more SaaS-like experience, or whether you're looking for agile cloud enabled IT ops, wherever you fit along that spectrum is fine. I think as you saw today, Whatever that next step is in your journey, we're excited about getting engaged and getting deep. So art of the possible is just, let's have a conversation, right? Describe to us what you're doing and why, and we will definitely help you achieve that. I think it's probably safe to say between the more than 50 years of combined experience between ERPA and fire, that whatever it is that you're wrestling with, we've probably helped someone else overcome that. So again, thank you for your time today. Very, very happy about your participation here, and thrilled, John and Ganesh. I wish we had more time. I'd love to go deep. I have a few questions. I'm trying not to type into the chat to dominate space there, but really appreciate your time. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Awesome, Sean. Thank you. And thank you, John and Ganesh. Great stuff today. Thank you to our presenters. Thank you to those who joined us today. We hope you found the discussion helpful. Not only helpful, you've been blowing up the questions for us, and I've kept John extremely busy. Sean, I'm really happy that we had John present first because it freed him up during Ganesh's demo to be so engaged with our guests today in the question and the chat feature. So thank you for all of your questions. I think we've answered almost all of them. John's, I think, working on the final question that's come in. I'm going to keep monitoring that for the next couple of minutes while I close us out today. Now, I did put something in the chat for all of you in that chat feature in the top right. If you are attending the Hug Alliance conference next week, I want to invite you to our elevated party experience on Monday evening. I've placed the link to the registration page in the chat at the top right of your screen. So if you're attending Hug Alliance in person next week, ERPA has bought out the entire 33rd and 34th floor restaurant and observation deck atop the Four Seasons Hotel. It's about a 4-minute walk from the conference center. We're going to have drinks and hors d'oeuvres during sunset with a spectacular view of New Orleans. Please find the link in the chat, register, and join us. You're all invited to our next level party. And as I mentioned before, an email survey is going to hit your inbox in just a few minutes. Take 45 seconds, if you would, to fill out that survey and let us know how we did today. I'm checking out the questions, and I think we've answered all of them. I counted over a dozen questions that came in, and I handed all of them to John, and I'm telling you, his fingers are on fire right now. No pun intended, because he's been answering all of these questions with his great wisdom and experience with fire. So thank you, John, for your work there. Finally, yes, several of you did ask if you're going to get the recording, not only the recording, but also a PDF of the slides. We'll get an email to your inbox in a few business days that's going to have a link to the recording of this entire live event, as well as a PDF of the slides. That's either for you to review further, or in case you know of someone you think could benefit from this material, you can forward that link to them and they can access the recording and the slides as well. All right, we're a few minutes early, but I think that's it. I'm looking at the questions, and so far, I think we've answered all of them. Again, John, Ganesh, Sean, thank you so much. You guys did a phenomenal job. That's it for now. Look for more webinars to come on a variety of topics of interest to those using PeopleSoft. You can contact ERPA here on this slide. Lots of information there on getting in touch with us. In the meantime, thank you, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.